Here is lots of stuff going on. Let's go and check out everything that these problems have. So the first thing we'll check out is the amplitude. And the amplitude for this problem right here, there's our A. So our amplitude is 1/2. Let's do the midline. We haven't been looking at the midline in the past couple problems, but our midline is what's happening here. It's our K value. Okay, and let's make it an equation. So y equals 1. So that's going to be where our new midline is drawn. The period. All right, well, we're looking for that period that's in front of the coefficient here, the coefficient of x. So my period is 2 pi over b. And in this case, we have 2 pi. Something happened to my recording. So we have 2 pi over 4. And that's going to simplify to pi over 2. So that's my period. So that's how long my 0 and then all of my points will come across to get to the next starting point of my pattern. And let's see what else I need to do. The quarter period, well, if we do put that down, oh, my pen is not working. Let's see. Quarter period. All right, so my quarter period will be whatever my period is there, pi over 2. But it's going to be divided by 4, which is really like multiplying by 1/4. So my quarter period is going to be pi over 8. All right, and let's look at the phase shift. So if I'm looking at my phase shift, I'm looking for whatever's in here, but there's nothing. So I don't have one. I can just write none. All right, so let's scroll down and draw in my midline. Let's figure out how I'm going to mark this up too. So let's say that this is 1, 2, -1, -2. And let's put a dashed line in here. My pen is not working. Try one more time down there to see if I can get it. Let's see, -2. All right, so now let's look at putting the midline in. And I'm drawing it, but it's coming out slow. There we go. So there's my midline up at 1. And now I'm going to start with my x-axis. So that's my 0. And my period is pi over 2. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and mark that as pi over 2. Each one of these is pi over 8. That's 0. It'd be pi over 8. That'd be a pi over 4 if I'm looking to, mark these up going in the different directions. And that would be -pi over 4. And then let's see, if I was to go ahead and make another period here, so this would be 1 pi over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one would be 2 pi over 2, which just ends up being the pi. So I can put 2 full periods on here because this is going to make everything happen 4 times as fast. So let's plot our points, and the sign is on the line, and I'm not shifting anywhere. So we're going to start here. We're going to do the sign on the line. And then I'm going to go up 1/2. So up 1/2. And since I'm going on each tick mark, because I haven't changed it any, with my phase shift, I can just go up and down along here. Go down and then back up. So I'm going up, down, up at pi over 2. That was one period. Up, down, up. There's another one, so I know that I've done that right. You can fill the rest in. There we go. And if we just quickly put in the domain and the range, domain is -∞ to infinity. And the range in this case, we're going to put our lowest point. Our lowest point is 1/2. And then our highest point is 3/2, or we could even write 1.5, however you want to make that fraction or that decimal occur. All right, we'll graph 14. 14, here's our A, right? All right, well, there's A. There's B. This is our phase shift, but not really, because this has to be 1 in order for this to be the phase shift. So let's go ahead and factor out a 2. All right, so when we factor out a 2, it's like dividing by 2, but then it's really like multiplying by 1/2. So if we take this 1/2 out of here, we're left with 1/4. And let's check by multiplying it back in. 2x minus 2/4, and that would give me 1/2. So that works out. So here is my B for my period. Here's my phase shift. And then here is my K for my midline. All right, so let's fill all that information in. We have the amplitude, which is 3. And my marker is not working. Let's see, try it again. Amplitude is 3. My midline, oh, this pen is telling me that it does not want to work. And maybe it just telling me to stop for the day. All right, so here's my midline. That's at y equals -1. The period is 2 pi over 2. So the period is just pi in this case. There we go. Goodness, it's not writing. And let's see, our quarter period is going to be pi over 4. That was quick. Pi over 4. Let's see, what else do we need to do? We also need to do the phase shift. And here, we didn't have it in the last one. My phase shift is going to be pi over 4 units or radians. It's going to go which direction? Oh, it's going to go to the right. It's always opposite. So we're going to shift pi over 4 units to the right. All right, so let's put our midline in. Our midline is down here at -1. And again, we'll follow that 0, -1, -2, 1, 2, -3, -4, because I think we'll have to go down that far. 3. All right, and that's supposed to say 0, not a dot. There we go. All right, so let's figure out also, you know, what we're going for in this this particular scale. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I make that my period of pi, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 2 pi, so that's 2 periods. That means that each of these quarter periods is 1/4. And that's my phase shift. I had it work out like that for us so that we can just kind of get the concept of what's happening rather than worry about fussing with our scale too much. All right, let's start putting these points on. Let me do them in red. All right, so cosine starts off the midline, and we're going to start off the midline, the amplitude up. So the amplitude is 3. So off the midline, I'm going to be up 1, 2, 3. But I'm not going to start there because I have a phase shift. I have a phase shift of pi over 4 to the right. And since each of my tick marks, my quarter periods, is pi over 4, then this works out fine. So I'm up here, and let me go back down 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to be back on the midline. You're always going off the midline, on the midline. So next tick mark, 1, 2, 3. Next tick mark, up here. Next tick mark, 1, 2, 3, back down, 1, 2, 3. Make sure I did that. 1, 2, 3, yep, and then over 1, back up to the midline, and then back over here 1 tick mark and up, and hopefully I got that worked out okay. This is back on the midline, 1, 2, 3, and I'm 1 over here. So we can kind of see that sine and cosine are really the same. All that's really different about them is the where they start, whether they start on the midline or not. It kind of almost is like a shift. So we can draw that in, and then the last thing we'll write is the domain and range. Domain, range. So my domain is negative infinity to infinity. And then my range, this one's the biggest one we've dealt with. And these are supposed to be brackets, but my pen's not working well. So my smallest y value is -4, and the biggest one I have is 2. See if I can make those any better here. There we go. All right, I hope that helps.